The candlelight quivered in the tunnel beneath the tower of the hand, gilding sweat on Tyrion's brow and turning the rough-hewn stones into molten gold. Every breath he drew tasted of dust, cloak musk, and the acrid tang of Lannister wildfire stored somewhere too near. His small hand tightened around the crossbow that Varys had pressed upon him, its varnished limbs hard as the judgments that had driven him here. Yet the quarrel remained unfired. He had knelt beside Shay's lifeless body only moments before, watched the crystal drops of blood slip like rubies down her pale throat, and felt nothing but a cavernous silence open inside him. Murder had been done already, the gods required no further offering. Still, habit guided his steps toward the privy door, for vengeance had a rhythm, a logic, a momentum as old as Lannisport's first stones. But when he laid his ear to the panel, expecting the old lion's snores or the wet scrape of chamber pot porcelain, he heard Tywin's voice instead. Measured, unafraid, reading aloud from a parchment rolled between elegant fingers. Tyrion lingered, listening. Words about coin and cattle, levies and ledgers, dull matters of realm-keeping that his father pursued even while relieved upon the jakes. In those metered syllables Tyrion recognized the same chill certainty that had once propped up the walls of Casterly Rock. The world was stone, men were mortar, and Tywin Lannister the architect sat above them all. Killing him would tumble the edifice, but would the ruins crush Tyrion or swallow the family whole? A memory rose, his mother's smile, half-remembered, in the courtyard garden. Jaime's gauntlet on his shoulder after his first drunken tourney. Myrcella laughing at Tyrion's doggerel verse. All Lannisters, golden and flawed, yet threads in the same cloth. If Tywin died tonight, the weave would unravel. And Cersei, Seven spare us, would see to the flames. Tyrion backed away from the door. Every step a surrender and an accusation married in equal parts. He loosed the string, slid the bolt into his pocket, and shrouded the bow beneath his cloak. Varys would ask why. Tyrion would answer only that the game had changed. Some debts were better collected in life than in death. He retreated through the passages, up a spiraling servant's stair, and emerged in an alcove overlooking the torchlit corridor outside the Hand's chambers. Moonlight spilled through a narrow arrow slit, silvering the marble floor and limning his shadow like a wraith on the wall. He breathed, counting heartbeats until the door across from him opened. Tywin Lannister stepped forth, belting a sable robe across his lean frame, hair of beaten gold unruffled by sleep. When his pale green eyes settled on the dwarf in the gloom, they betrayed not surprise, but appraisal, an assessor judging copper purity. Tyrion. The name fell flat, no warmth, no anger, only acknowledgement. "Father," Tyrion replied, and his voice sounded small but steady. "I came to kill you." Tywin raised one brow, disapproval, not fear. "Yet here I stand." "A miracle," Tyrion quipped, though the jest tasted of bile. "Or perhaps a choice." At that the hand of the king regarded his son anew, as though inspecting a curious bauble for hidden worth. "For once," Tywin said, "we agree that choices matter more than spite." He beckoned with two fingers, lordly and languid. "Walk with me." Together they moved down the corridor, the taller man's stride measured to the shorter's rolling gait. A pair of gold cloaks saw them and stiffened, but Tywin's cool gaze dismissed any questions. In silence they descended a servant's stair to a covered veranda overlooking the inner ward. Below, the Red Keep dozed, banners limp in a fitful breeze. Yet distant shouts from Flea Bottom rose like embers on night air. War still raged elsewhere. Stannis on the wall, Bolton knives in the north, Dornish sand adders coiling in the south, conflicts Tywin tracked as a gambler counts coppers. Tyrion stood beside him, leaning upon a carved stone balustrade worn smooth by generations. He felt the weight of words unspoken, of Tisha, of mock marriages, of chains and trials and crossbow quarrels. All the wrongs of 2 lifetimes poised over the chasm stretched between them. To speak them would be to topple, to stay silent, to turn away beneath their gravity. "You blame me," Tywin said, soft as falling ash, "for every wound life dealt you. Yet the realm would be ash if men acted only from injury." For a heartbeat Tyrion fancied hurling himself at the old man, hammering fists against hard ribs. But the moment passed. "The realm," he whispered, "may yet burn because of your pride." Pride? Tywin closed his eyes, inhaled night air. Pride kept House Lannister standing when Aerys boiled pyromancers in their own vats. Pride forged alliances, filled larders, raised castles. He turned, features composed as bronze. Will you use that crossbow now? Tyrion opened his cloak, displaying the unstrung weapon like some rare specimen pinned for study. No, he let it drop, stocks clattering on stone. I will use words. Tywin's silence invited him to continue. I leave King's Landing tonight, Tyrion began. Varys would have a ship at the Blackwater Rush, though whether the eunuch still played ally or spider remained to be seen. But I will not flee as your condemned son. I will go as your envoy. The elder lion tilted his head. An envoy to whom? To whoever might keep our bloodline intact. Daenerys Targaryen across the narrow sea, perhaps. Or Dorne if the sand snakes would bargain. Tyrion shrugged. Someone must weave us a future before Cersei unwinds the present. At his sister's name, Tywin's lips thinned. Your sister commands loyalty, and wields suspicion like wildfire. She will smell treachery in every dark corner. She will even suspect you. Tyrion met his father's gaze. Best that I shoulder that role out there, beyond these walls, while you keep her focused here. Tywin studied him, features unreadable. In the quiet, Tyrion heard his own blood in his ears, the pulse of a drowning man. Perhaps, Tywin said at last, I misjudged the manner of lion you are. Perhaps, Tyrion echoed, fighting the ache behind his ribs. Tywin nodded once, a small bow, yet to Tyrion it felt as seismic as the rock itself shifting. Very well. We speak as lions then. You will go east at first light, bearing my seal. But hear this, defy me and I will hunt you to the ends of the earth. Tyrion barked a brittle laugh. Spoken like a true father. And you, Tywin continued, tone unaltered, will carry the debt of Shay's blood. Spare me platitudes about guilt. You know the price of mercy. Oh, I know the price, Tyrion thought, feeling every copper laid upon his soul. Yet he bowed, the first genuine bow he had ever offered Tywin Lannister. When he rose, he saw not approval but acceptance in those flinty eyes. It would do. Dawn painted the Blackwater a smoldering crimson as Tyrion boarded a narrow-beamed galley under sail. Bronn, ever a shadow at his elbow, stood aside with a pursed grin. Not often a dwarf sets out to broker kingdoms. Not often a sellsword grows respectable, Tyrion retorted, pressing a purse into the man's calloused palm. Stay in the capital. Keep ears open. If Cersei spits venom, taste it for me. Bronn hefted the weight, shrugged. Gold spends sweeter than gratitude. He departed whistling, scarred hand already counting coins. On deck, Varys awaited, moon-pale and smooth, robes of lavender and cream. A daring choice, my lord, the eunuch murmured as oars dipped in unison. Not to kill him. Daring or foolish, Tyrion replied. Time will judge. Varys' smile widened by fractions. Time judges all. I merely arranged the witnesses. The river's current bore them seaward, the red keep receding like a bloody dream etched against sky. Tyrion watched until the towers blurred with morning haze. He touched the blank wax of Tywin's signet suspended on a cord around his neck. An envoy of House Lannister, never a station he'd anticipated. The weight felt strange, neither shackle nor salvation, but something jagged in between. His thoughts drifted to Jaime, somewhere on the King's Road perhaps, or already returned, golden armor dulled by travel. Would he understand? Cersei surely would not. Yet the die was cast. Tyrion could only tilt the board in favor of his family and hope the fall of stones favored lions over wolves and stags. The ship slipped into open waters, sails snapping, and with every surge of hull through swell, Tyrion's resolve hardened like cooled steel. If he bargained well, if he pledged wit and coin and cunning to the right powers, perhaps he could spare Westeros another war. Or at least ensure the lion's share of its spoils. In King's Landing, Tywin Lannister returned to the Tower of the Hand, summoned Maester Pycelle, and set quills scratching across parchments before the city bells finished tolling dawn. Messages to Riverrun, to the twins, even to Sunspear, each sealed with crimson wax stamped by the lion. All bore variations of the same refrain, House Lannister seeks common cause. For Tywin understood that a living son could be bargained with, a dead one could only be reviled. When Jaime arrived 2 days later, dusty, weary, his right hand still phantom-aching, Tywin greeted him not with reproach but with quiet instruction. You will ride to Riverrun, he said, under a banner of truce. Tell the Blackfish and the young Lady Stark that the wars of men must end before winter devours victor and vanquished alike. Jaime, expecting a trial for fratricide or regicide or some other bloody charge, stood mute. At last he managed, and Cersei. She will remain here, Tywin answered, to rule in Tommen's name. She will have the power she craves. He paused. A power without allies is a sword without edge. His gaze sharpened. You will help her learn restraint. Jaime almost laughed. You ask the impossible. Tywin's voice cooled to autumn frost. Nevertheless, you will try. Bring her to heal, or she will bring us to ruin. There was a time when Jaime would have chafed at the command like iron at a raw wound. But he saw the vulnerability beneath his father's iron mask, saw that Tywin, for all his legendary resolve, feared the slow bleed of his house. Perhaps, Jaime mused, we all fear that which time strips away, pride, purpose, legacy. He agreed to ride at first light. Far to the east, the narrow sea shimmered beneath a noonday blaze as Tyrion's galley made harbor at Pentos. Illyrio Mopatus awaited, jeweled fingers spread wide, perfumed silks fluttering. My dear little lion, he boomed. Word reached me that you were dead. I wept into my sweetbreads. Save tears, Tyrion said, descending the gangplank. I bring opportunities and Tywin's seal. Illyrio's laughter trembled through his belly. Ah, Tywin, he sighed. The man who shaves with other men's ambitions. What bargain does he propose? That the last dragon queen may prefer gold lions at her side to iron roses at her throat. Tyrion offered a thin smile. And that Pentos might profit handsomely by arranging the introduction. Illyrio's eyes gleamed. But dragons fly at their own whim. Even my influence has limits. Limits can be bought, Tyrion replied, and broken by wit. He stepped onto cobblestones warm as hearthbrick. I will need a ship, fresh clothing, and intelligence on the Queen's progress through Slaver's Bay. All will be provided. Illyrio inclined his head. For a modest fee. Naturally, Tyrion said, and the first negotiation of many began. Back in the capital, Cersei Lannister strode into the small council chamber, crimson gowns swirling like spilled wine. She found her father seated at the head, Pycelle dozing beside him, Lord Mace Tyrell fidgeting, and Grand Maester Qyburn studying her with dark curiosity. You sent away my brother. Her voice cut like Valyrian glass. Your brother serves the realm, Tywin replied, setting quill to parchment without glancing up. And you serve the king. I am the realm's true protector, Cersei declared. But I will not be kept from knowledge. Where is Tyrion? Tywin sealed the letter before him. He serves as emissary to potential allies. Cersei's laugh was brittle stone. You trust him. I trust necessity. Tywin met her stare. You would do well to learn the same. Winter nears. The others gather beyond the wall. Only unity will preserve our line. Unity, she spat the word. Jaime cavorts with traitors. Tyrion consorts with whores and Targaryen pretenders. And you call this unity? Tywin's calm was terrible as still water reflecting storm clouds. Your children's lives depend upon alliances you cannot see. The lion who roars at every shadow finds himself alone when the hunters come. Her mouth worked, but no retort emerged. In that silence, Tywin spoke again. Sit, listen, learn, or lose all. She sat, but the simmer in her emerald eyes promised that the lesson would be a long, perilous tutelage. Northward, snow chased the breath of every man who marched under Lord Roose Bolton's flayed man banners. They'd seized Winterfell, but wolves lurked still among broken walls. It was to these frozen battlements that Jaime came, white cloak muffled beneath furs bearing words of amnesty and votes of peace. He spent a fortnight parleying with the Blackfish in a drafty hall that smelled of smoke and grief. Ravens flew daily, carrying missives between Stark loyalists, Frey sympathizers, and Riverrun holdfasts. In midnight talks by guttering tallow, Jaime confessed that Lannisters had wronged the North, that Tywin would retract every Frey knife if the North bent not the knee but the ear. Give Tommen your fealty, and we will give you justice for crimes done by our name. It was a risky gamble, offers of coin and grain, marriage for Sansa to a groom of her choosing, the promise that no Southron army would cross Moat Cailin for 7 years. The Blackfish, stern as black ice, pondered each clause. Your word, he said to the Kingslayer, is a sharp blade, but whose throat will it cut when your father dies? Mine, Jaime answered, and Cersei's, so you may trust that I shall keep it keen. Honor, paradoxically, blossomed from confessed dishonor. At length, the Tully Lord placed his seal beside Jaime's upon a scroll that would travel south on swift wings. In the narrow sea, storms battered Tyrion's dice-cup tiny cog as it rounded Valyria's smoking shores. Crew whispered of stone men and curses. Tyrion listened while nursing a cup of fiery plum brandy. He studied Illyrio's letters, reports from Meereen, Daenerys enthroned but beset by insurgent sons of the Harpy, dragons chained, Sellsword captains scheming. a fragile city perched upon dragonfire and idealism. Tread softly, Illyrio had warned. The Dragon Queen values justice, yet justice burns as hot as dragon flame. Tyrion penned his own missives, drafting arguments of mutual benefit. Lannister gold to rebuild Meereen's gates, Westerosi legitimacy to strengthen her claim. In return, Dragonfire promised against usurpers in King's Landing who would resist a peaceful transition. He would present himself not as lord nor lion, but as necessary pivot in a weary world. And perhaps, at night, he would remember Tisha's smile and wonder whether any pivot turned upon love rather than power. But dawn would come, and with it more parchments to seal. When the mists parted and the black cliffs of Slaver's Bay loomed, Tyrion squared his shoulders. A dwarf at the gateway of dragons, but a lion nonetheless. Between raven wings and sea spray, a network of fragile accords spread. Northmen eyed truce, Dornish emissaries crept into the capital under banners of mourning for murdered kin, yet carrying olive branches bundled in silk. Highgarden plotted weddings in exchange for harvest rights. And in his solar Tywin Lannister slept little, quills scratching till dawn, eyes haunted not by fear of foes, but by the knowledge that every day gained was a day closer to his own failing strength. Sometimes, late at night, he would pause over a map of Westeros and trace his finger from Casterly Rock to King's Landing to Winterfell. He imagined the red line of vein pulsing with the blood of Lannisters scattered by war. If Tyrion succeeded, if Jaime forged peace, if Cersei learned prudence, then perhaps the vein might yet carry life through the chill of winter. If not, the rock would stand a tombstone over empty halls. He thought of Joanna, dead these many years, and the shape of her smile when infant Tyrion clutched her finger. A smile he'd buried beneath duty. The old lion felt, for the first time in seasons uncounted, the stir of regret. Night deepened over Meereen as Tyrion, guests of the Queen, dined in a marble-pillared hall. Daenerys Targaryen sat upon a dais, dragon's shadows dancing behind translucent silk screens as braziers roared. Her eyes, amethyst bright, studied the dwarf who spoke of fathers spared and kingdoms united. "You would barter your father's armies for my cause," she said, voice calm as still water. "I would barter hope," Tyrion replied, raising a goblet. "A rare commodity. Once spent, it cannot be reclaimed. Choose the right allies, and the 7 kingdoms may greet you with wreaths instead of spears." Her gaze flickered to Missandei, to Grey Worm standing sentinel. "Your father is feared." "He is," Tyrion sipped. "Fear makes a sword, but fear tempered with purpose makes a crown." Dragons snarled beyond the silk, the room's guests flinched, Tyrion held steady. Daenerys smiled, and it was like dawn after tempest. "Then let us speak of purpose, Lord Tyrion." Not lord, he thought, but if the title served the game, he would wear it. So began another fragile thread in the tapestry, dragon and lion woven together, stitches still wet with blood and doubt. In the north, Sansa Stark read Jaime's proposals by candlelight. She remembered a boy prince who mocked songs of chivalry, remembered chains of abuse and the taste of iron at the Eyrie. Remembered, too, the faint kindness Tyrion had shown on their wedding night when he spared her body though her dignity had been stripped by jeering courtiers. Could she trust a Lannister parchment now? The parchment was ink and wax. Trust would have to be flesh and action. Yet winter winds howled outside and grain stores dwindled. Pragmatism, she learned, could save more lives than vengeance. When dawn whitened the sky, she sent a raven south, short, cautious, but not rejecting the terms. A hinge creaked on the door of possibility. Cersei poisoned goblets with suspicion, seeing in every Tyrell smile a hidden blade. But Tommen flourished under tutors Tywin appointed, a septon who taught compassion, a maester who praised logic, a Braavosi sword master who insisted a king must know the weight of steel. At council meetings, Tommen asked questions: why taxes rose on the riverlands, why grain ships rotted in harbor. Cersei bristled, Tywin listened, approving silently. The boy might yet be a king in more than name. Still, every advance bred resistance. The High Sparrow rallied the poor under banners of faith, whispering that gold lions gorged while orphans starved. Tywin responded with grain wagons escorted by lions not in armor but in humble cloaks, distributing bread in the streets. Cersei scoffed. Charity was weakness, but the small folk cheered. Within those cheers Tywin heard the faint roar of legacy, not forged by terror alone but by respect, reluctant yet enduring. Months passed. Riverrun reopened to trade. The twins hosted feasts free of bloodshed. Brienne of Tarth guided Lady Sansa south to treat with Tywin B. Neath the promise of safe conduct. In the east, Daenerys sailed at last, banners of the three-headed dragon snapping above decks of ships paid for with Lannister gold shipped through Pentoshi intermediaries. And Tyrion, at her right hand, studied letters from his father, terse reports of progress, of obstacles, of trust slowly seated where once there had been only command. He toasted each victory in moderation, knowing that winter's first blizzard could bury all. But sometimes, when the queen retired and the candles guttered low, he would stand alone on the forecastle, breathing salt wind and thinking of Tywin's unyielding gaze in that corridor. He wondered if the old man felt pride or merely calculation at his son's endeavors. Either might suffice. Behind him, dragons circled the fleet, living fire harnessed to a course charted by human choice. They shrieked into the star-flecked dark, and Tyrion felt the wind of their passing like the turning of a great wheel. One he had nudged, for better or worse, with a single spared quarrel. So the realm approached a crossroads, lion and dragon, wolf and rose, sun and spear, trout and kraken, all converging upon a stage set by cautious mercy. Whether the play would end in harmony or pyre none could yet foretell. But somewhere in the Tower of the Hand an old lion closed his eyes at last, letting Quill rest, and allowed himself, for the space between one heartbeat and the next, to hope. And far away on a deck washed by moonlight, a dwarf exiled by birth and crowned by wit whispered into the wind, "I will make this worth the cost." Then he turned, and the wings of dragons beat overhead like thunder made flesh, driving the fleet toward dawn and destiny. Waves slapped the hull of the Stormgrow with a muted cadence, a ceaseless drum that lulled most of the crew to half-sleep. Tyrion watched dark water stream past the ruddy lantern light, the memory of Daenerys's measured smile haunting him like a distant bell. She had not yet consented to sail for Westeros. Too many chains still rattled in Meereen. But she had allowed him a chair at her council table and a voice at her fireside. In return, he offered wit, coin, and the blunt honesty of a man who had already lost everything once. And though he could not yet name it aloud, he offered belief that the Dragon Queen, for all her hard edges, might wear mercy like a new-forged crown. The Stormcrow rode north now, a short hop to Volantis where spies awaited, but Tyrion's mind lingered behind, among pyramid halls where mosaics of forgotten gods glimmered in torchlight. There, 2 nights passed. He'd crossed blades of words with Hisdar zo Lorak beneath silken awnings that smelled of clove smoke. Hisdar had pressed for the reopening of the fighting pits. Tyrion pressed back, spinning tales of Westerosi knights who fought not for coin but for honor, of merchants who grew richer by promoting spectacle without slaughter. By dawn Hisdar had conceded, grudgingly, to a test. Pit fighters would duel with blunted weapons, overseen by unsullied arbiters. No blood but plenty of cheers, Tyrion promised. Daenerys had permitted the experiment, her eyes fathoms deep with caution. It would not placate every harpy, but each compromise planted a seed of stability, and stability might one day uproot fear. Now, wrapped in a salt-sprayed cloak, Tyrion reread the raven letter folded in his purse, a rare breeze of unexpected news from Westeros. J. Lannister rides beneath the direwolf banner, parley at Moat Cailin. Stark sympathies stir. Father instructs caution. Growing whispers of the faith militant rising in the streets. Your sister unsettled but contained. Qyburn, for the hand. Contained, Tyrion scoffed. A sister like wildfire could never be kept in flasks for long. He pictured Cersei pacing velvet carpets, nails biting palm, hatching contingencies deadlier than scorpion stings. Still, if Tywin claimed she was contained, perhaps she was. Though what device achieved that miracle beggared imagination? The dwarf drained his cup, tongue-tasting cedar and fig, and whispered to the black horizon, "Hold the realm together, father. I will aim the dragons." In King's Landing, dusk bled rich vermilion across jagged merlons of the Red Keep. Cersei strode the corridors like a storm roiled into flesh, sleeves of garnet brocade snapping, lion head clasps clinking. She dismissed every Lannister guard who dared shadow her, for the stench of Tywin's surveillance offended her more deeply than boiling pitch. At last she reached the royal sept within Maegor's holdfast, once a quiet place of incense and reflection, now alive with shuffling barefoot zealots in rough-spun gray. The High Sparrow knelt before the 7-pointed star altar, head bowed. Cersei spoke first, voice knife bright. "You preach humility, yet you infest the palace like rats gorging on spilled grain. My father's patience is finite. The High Sparrow lifted watery eyes but remained kneeling. Radiant Queen Regent, we seek only to wash the city's sins. Gold encrusted these floors while children starved. We scrub soils of the soul. She circled him, skirts whispering. Scrubbed too hard and polished marble cracks. Cracks let in light, he answered, calm as winter dawn. Cersei's palm twitched, yearning for a goblet to hurl, but she stepped nearer, lowering her voice. Light blinds as surely as darkness. Remember, the sword belongs to the crown. Faith is a sharper blade, the sparrow murmured. Yet blades may kiss rather than cut. Her nostrils flared, she scented insolence. But some new discipline, perhaps fear of Tywin's unspoken wrath, reined her tongue. Instead she bent, whispering, kneel at my son's coronation feast next moon. Publicly bless his reign. Whisper of Lannister virtues. Do this and coin will flow to your soup kitchens. Refuse and those kitchens will burn. The High Sparrow regarded her, face unreadable as chapel stone. At length he nodded. For the poor we would dine with devils. Cersei straightened. Devils dine on the unprepared. Then she turned, strides echoing beyond the sept's door, leaving the holy man to prayers and ashes. Behind her, two acolytes shared a look. Already the faith militant, newly pardoned under the king's seal, gathered arms in secret cellars, smiths forging 7-pointed stars of hardened steel. Far north, gray banners snapped atop the battlements of Moat Cailin, the wind thick with peat and thorot. Jaime Lannister dismounted before the gatehouse, his white cloak dingy with river mud, and surrendered sword and dagger to Stark guards. Inside, the Blackfish stood like sable iron, and beside him Lady Sansa, no longer girl but tall young woman with eyes of summer sky half veiled by frost. They greeted Jaime without courtesy. He bowed all the same. In the drafty hall where once ire-born captains flayed their captives, the Kingslayer unrolled a vellum scroll stamped with lion's seal and direwolf paw, the latter freshly inked. Terms for alliance, he said. Freed northern lords may retain lands. No Lannister soldier will cross the neck without invitation. Grain and coin to rebuild Winterfell, and full pardon for deserters who swear fealty to King Tommen. The Blackfish never blinked. And the dead at the twins? At the Red Wedding? Jaime swallowed bitterness. My father offers reparations. Gold for each house and the flesh behind the slaughter brought to justice. Walder Frye will answer. A laugh like gravel spilled from Blackfish lips. Old Frye will die in bed before lions touch him. I will escort him to trial myself, Jaime said. Sansa's voice cut the chill. And what of Ramsay Bolton, who holds Winterfell now? Bolton's days shorten, Jaime promised. Lord Roose plays every side. Give him a path to survival and he will abandon his bastard. Let us offer that path. She weighed the words, jaw tense. The Blackfish leaned close, whispering. Finally Sansa nodded once. We will send ravens to loyal bannermen. If the Boltons refuse, winter comes for them first. Jaime exhaled a breath he'd not known he held. Alliance sprouted fragile as early crocus in snowpack soil. He offered his forearm to the Stark lady. Sansa clasped it, grip firm as oaths. In that clasp Jaime sensed more steel than he possessed in his golden prosthetic. Yet he also sensed ghosts crowding the hall. Catelyn's wail at river's edge, Robb's wolf-headed crown tumbling to flagstones, the cries of men betrayed under torchlit rafters. Redemption, Jaime understood, is never a single act. It is the long attrition of atoning days. And he had miles of attrition yet before him. At sea, the Stormcrow anchored outside Volantis amid a flotilla of weather-beaten cogs. In the shadow of the black walls, Tyrion met with two continuations of Illyrio's spiderweb, a moon-faced planky towner smuggler named Miles and a mute scribe from the Guild of Whispering Lanterns. They delivered tidings. Euron Greyjoy had claimed the Seastone chair and built a fleet rumored to ride storms like leather-winged demons. He boasted of dragon-binding horns, swore to sail south and seize victory while Westeros feuded. Tyrion dismissed the notion of horn magic as kraken tales, yet the Ironborn threat gnawed. Should Euron attack Lannisport, Tywin's efforts might splinter. Tyrion penned warnings, attached them to ravens bound for the Westerlands via Cartha's sky couriers. Every message a fragile lifeline across leagues of wind. Miles also brought grim trophies, gilded masks filched from sons of the Harpy coffers. Price of Harpy heads up threefold, he said, slurring around a broken tooth. They'll pay weight in silver for a dwarf scalp if they think it buys Daenerys' wrath. Well, Tyrion murmured, flipping a mask's cheek where lapis chips winked, let us keep my head firmly on my shoulders then. Yet Volantis proved transient. He soon boarded a swift Pentoshi galley chartered by Illyrio's coin, bearing crates of striped manticores, exotic pets meant for Astapor's newly crowned council, and scrolls rife with Tywin's seal promising trade privileges once Lannister fleets ruled the narrow sea. Tyrion never tired of irony. His father's paranoid hoarding of gold now greased the hinges of revolution. Back in King's Landing, Tommen's coronation feast glittered beneath 1,000 beeswax tapers. Tyrell roses perfumed the great hall, musicians plucked lutes, pies steamed. The High Sparrow approached dais steps and kneeled, pronouncing blessings that draped the boy king in sanctity. Cersei preened, satisfied, yet Tywin watched the rag-clad faithful throng with wary eyes. They filled alcoves like tides of gray, each clutching unshot hope. Hope is volatile, the old lion knew. Douse it in flame and it explodes. Later that night the hand met with Qyburn in a windowless antechamber lined with jars of dubious tinctures. Progress? Tywin asked. Qyburn's smile was thin parchment. The silent brotherhood grows. Volunteers from the dungeons, men nobody will miss. I perfect their reawakening. Tywin hid distaste. Ensure they obey only my voice. As you command. Qyburn's gaze lingered on a slab where a huge night-shaped silhouette lay shrouded. Something beneath the cloth twitched. Tywin left before revulsion cracked his facade. In politics, one often cultivated serpents. The trick was recognizing which might turn upon the hand that warmed them. Snow fell thick on Winterfell's charred courtyards as Ramsay Bolton cracked a whip over kennel dogs. He scarcely noticed the arrow that thunked into nearby post until a parchment affixed to the shaft fluttered. He tore it free. Bolton treachery ends. Surrender Winterfell. Kneel to King Tommen. Return Lady Stark unharmed. Accept exile to Dreffort and royal pardon. Refuse and every northern blade will turn against you before the first thaw. Signed with lion, wolf, and trout sigils. Ramsay laughed, high and mad. Father will flay the lion's pretty night, he mused. But when he sought Roose, he found the lord of the Dreadfort hunched over fresh letters from the south. Roose read slowly, candlelight quivering on pale eyes. Father, Ramsay asked, eager. Roose folded the scroll. Jaime Lannister offers us the South's peace in exchange for Stark peace. He spoke with the cadence of a man weighing eggs, life, death, and every crack between. If we refuse, lion and wolf unite. We would stand alone. Let them come. Flay their banners for cloaks. Roose regarded his bastard with a stillness colder than stone. Your bravado is costlier than flayer's salt. Winter is not kind to isolated houses. He paused, then, we will answer. We will bend. Ramsay's grin curdled. We are flayers. We bend to Noah. Roose's slap cracked like frost-split oak. Ramsay staggered, eyes wide. Roose leaned close, voice a rasp. We bend lest we break. Prepare ravens. In that moment Ramsay measured murder behind his own teeth. Yet even madness slunk away from Roose's frigid resolve. For now the bastard bowed. Beneath the pyramids of Meereen, Tyrion attended a secret summit in an ancient cistern whose arched ceiling dripped mineral tears. Opposite him sat Missandei, Grey Worm, Hisdar, and Dario Naharis lounging against a pillar with cat-like ease. Above, rumble of market wheels, below, the hush of negotiation. Tyrion unfurled a rough sea chart. Euron Greyjoy gathers a storm. If his kraken sails reach Slaver's Bay, he may strike while we bicker. We need unity, unsullied spear discipline paired with Sellsword audacity, with Astapori crossbow lines, with Carthene coin for provisions. Dario plucked a dagger from his sleeve, trimming a fingernail. And you think words stop krakens? No, Tyrion said. Dragons stop krakens. Words let dragons fly in the right direction. Grey Worm's eyes flicked to the map. Unsullied follow, Queen. As do you all, Tyrion noted. But the Queen listens when her generals agree. So let us agree, radical zealots in golden masks must be quelled before the fleet sails. I propose we lure the Suns into one decisive engagement. He sketched. Torchlit parades celebrating reopened pits, unsullied disguised as revelers, pit gates rigged to trap. Root them out in one stroke. Hisdar frowned. A massacre in the sacred pits? You offend Meereenese pride. Tyrion spread his hands. Your pride smothers your city. For Meereen to sit at the Queen's table among Westerosi lords, she must first survive the feast. Missandei's soft voice floated. Justice without mercy is hatred. Mercy without justice is weakness. Then we temper steel with both, Tyrion said. Offer captured harpies a choice. Kneel to the Queen's laws or sail to Valyria's smoking shores. Fewer corpses, more precedent. Grey Worm nodded. Hisdar, sensing compromise saving face, conceded. If blood must spill, let it at least feed new seed. Dario flicked dagger into sheath. I prefer seeds of mischief. Tyrion smiled thinly. Then water them while I feed dragons politics. He folded the chart, heart-hammering. Success here meant Daenerys untethered from Myreen's mire, failure spelled chaos on the eve of Westerosi hope. In Lannisport, seagulls wheeled above crimson sails as Euron's iron fleet appeared on the horizon, black hulls bristling like shark fins. But the city walls bore fresh scorpions and harbor chains glinted. Sworn under Tywin's edict, Maester engineers had worked day and night since the Raven arrived. When the first ironclad rammed forward, catapult stones driven by counterweights of molten lead arced skyward, smashing decks. Fireships crewed by condemned criminals promised pardons rode flaming pitch into enemy prows. Lannisport Harbor became a cauldron of shrieks and steam. On the battlements Lord Kevin Lannister commanded, sending clusters of green-sigilled boats beyond the breakwater. As dusk fell, a horn of black bones sounded from Euron's flagship silence. Some sailors swore the clouds swirled, that distant thunder howled like dragons, but winds shifted, oars faltered, and the horn fell silent. By sunrise half the Iron Fleet smoldered offshore, the rest scattered west to Pike. Word traveled like brush fire, the lions had bitten the Kraken's tentacle. When the Raven reached King's Landing, Tywin read it with sparse satisfaction. Threats are tests, pass enough and foes think twice. But how many tests before the stone cracks? The old lion rubbed his eyes. Across the map's ink-washed seas, Tyrion's uncertain chessboard moved unseen. Deep in the dungeons, Qyburn's work bore unexpected yield. A towering knight clad head to toe in enchanted plate emerged, visor sealed, silence absolute save for rasping breath that echoed strangely, neither inhale nor exhale, but a hiss of bellows. Qyburn presented the creature to Ser Gregor Clegane's vacant cell and spoke a whispered phrase. The giant lifted a flail of jagged steel links, swung once, and pulverized the wall's granite block. Dust spiraled. Tywin watched, expression carved from basalt. Will it obey? Only you and those you name, Qyburn assured. Tywin considered Cersei, her hot temper, her taste for intimidation. Such a creature at her heel could leash her recklessness, yet empower her too greatly. He paced the torchlit corridor, boots splashing in shallow water. Eventually, it will serve the crown, but keep its origin secret. Fear thrives on mystery. Qyburn bowed. As you will. At Mo Kalen, a raven arrived bearing Roose Bolton's seal, acceptance of alliance, surrender of Winterfell upon safe passage south. Jaime read the words aloud. The Blackfish nodded, yet skeptical lines cut deeper across his brow. Sansa exhaled, half relieved, half terrified. A plan formed. Jaime would ride east with an escort of Lannister guards and northern outriders, escorting Roose and Ramsay to Barrowton, where witness lords would ratify the oaths. Then Stark forces march home. But a single spark could ignite betrayal. That night Jaime found Brienne of Tarth under a moon-soaked gate arch. She polished O Keeper, red fire in its steel. It seems we betray opposite vows again, she said without looking. Or we fulfill both, Jaime answered. Protect the innocent, honor debts, end wars? Brienne sheathed the blade. Pray you can share that vision. Pray the Starks do, Jaime countered. Then softer, will you ride with me to Barrowton? 2 swords bound by Ned Stark's daughter made discouraged knives in the dark. Brienne met his eyes. I swore to find the Stark girls, keep them safe. So I ride. Their hands brushed, metal on leather, acknowledging friendship forged in bear pits and rivers of trauma. Spring fingers of green crept along the Blackwater rush. On a veranda above the city's tiled roofs, Lady Olenna Tyrell sat opposite Tywin, a game of Syvas set between them. Marble dragons, elephants, and lions sprawled across checkered onyx. Olenna's crabbed hand moved a dragon, toppling a rook. Your granddaughter grows impatient, she said, adjusting a violet shawl. Half the court whispers that Marjorie waits for Tommen's beard to sprout before bedding. Bees sting when left in slate too long. Tywin advanced his spearman. Your bees will wait. The kingdom stabilizes first. Stabilize a female heart? Foolish. Olenna plucked another piece. Your faith militant sprout faster than weeds. Soon even I may need to wear sackcloth and beg for water. Let them pray, Tywin replied. Bread and coin tame zeal. I supply both. And when bread dwindles? Olenna's flinty eyes pierced him. Winter looms. Your grain ships can't feed a kingdom at war. Tywin placed his dragon. There will be no war. Peace with the north, a truce with Dorne, the reach secure. By the time winter bites, Daenerys Targaryen. N will land under my banner as ally, not conqueror. He captured her elephant. Olenna tapped teakettle fingers on the board. You gamble on dragons. Beasts love no master. I leave that to my son. Tywin's smile was thin. The board is set. Let us see who fears check. Olenna moved a lion. Check indeed, dear. For all of us. Meereen's great pit, Daznak's, thrummed like a beehive under brazen sun. Crowds pressed stands, drums beat. At center sandpit, masked harpies strutted, mocking the queen's edict by wearing crimson cloth in place of gilded visages. Tyrion lurked behind wooden screens with Grey Worm and a cadre of Unsullied disguised in ragged cloaks. His pulse hammered. A flamboyant herald shouted names of champions wielding blunted blades. Cheers rose, and beneath them, the sibilant hiss of dissent. As prearranged, the harpies leaped barriers wielding real daggers. Panic rippled, but unsullied columns snapped forward, discarding cloaks, spears leveled. Trapdoors slammed, sealing exits. Arrows rained from ramparts where Sel's words, bribed by Tyrion, stood in for city watch. Chaos condensed to violence, then to surrender. 40 harpies kneeled, ringed by spears. No innocents fell, save a child cut by stray blade. Tyrion forced healers forward at once. Public mercy. Above, the queen's balcony. Daenerys rose, eyes burning. Her handmaidens parted as she descended stairs to the sand, walking among prisoners. She asked each why he fought. Some spat, some wept. One whispered that the Dragon Queen shattered ancient orders. Daenerys nodded, then turned to the throng. If old orders chain children, let them be undone. She raised Tyrion's hand, crimson sand clinging to his glove. The dwarf whom many call half-man stands whole before you, she proclaimed. He forged this day's peace. Let all who doubt House Lannister's oath behold it. Some hissed, most cheered. A new page turned, ink still wet with blood and compromise. That evening Daenerys and Tyrion paced an obsidian-lined hallway. You risked much, she said. As did you. Tyrion leaned on balustrade overlooking fire-lit courtyards. But you saw the harpies removed, your people defended by your decree, mercy overriding vengeance. They will remember. Daenerys studied him. And what of your father's designs? Will he remember whose coin built this calm? He will, Tyrion said. And he will pay interest. They shared a smile, rare, alliance forged. Then she decided, we sail when the next full moon fattens. The bay must survive without me. Tyrion's heart skipped. Westward at last. To Dragon's birthright, she said. And to mine, he murmured, imagining Casterly Rock's echoing halls filled not with ghosts but with songs of unity. In the Dornish foothills, Prince Doran Martell sat under orange trees conferring with Lord Tywin's envoy, Ser Balon Swan, escorted by two silent sisters dressed in Lannister crimson. Doran's joints throbbed, yet his mind flashed quick. The envoy offered restitution for Princess Myrcella's maiming, trade concessions, marriage between Princess Arianne and young Prince Trystane to Tommen's sister Myrcella if still alive after Maester treatment. Doran listened, nodding slowly. Peace sells cheaply only to those who will break it, he said. Ser Balon spread hands. We wish you justice. Doran's dark eyes narrowed. Justice would be Elia's screaming children avenged. Justice, Balon countered gently, might also be blood spared. He drew forth a sealed scroll penned by Tyrion, promises of Dornish autonomy, open ports, and a seat on the new small council pledged to Arianne herself. Doran broke the seal. His gaze softened fractionally. Vengeance still burned, but age-tempered iron to steel, flexible, lethal. We will consider, he said. Under his breath, he added, for Elia. Night stretched across Essos, stars salt sprinkled. Tyrion found Daenerys atop the bet-seated dome of her pyramid, Drogon circling high like a living moonshadow. Sheet gulls cried. Below, Meereen slumbered, fires banked. Tyrion sat. My father's greatest fear, he began, was always humiliation. Better to burn a city than confess weakness. Daenerys's hair flowed silver pale in starlight. Is sparing him weakness? Perhaps. Tyrion sighed. But it grants him a chance to change. It grants us a chance. She turned, studying dwarf and city and distant blackness. Dragons once forged the world in flame, then slept. When they woke, men called their power abomination. Power is neither good nor evil, I think. Only keen. Keen blades cut both wielder and foe, Tyrion said. Then let us sheathe ours wisely. She rested a hand upon his. Fire coursed within that small gesture, fire not of desire, but of accord. Together we reclaim Westeros. For the living. For those lost to ice and war. Tyrion inhaled salt and jasmine. For my brother Jaime, he whispered, surprising himself. And for your father, she asked. He hesitated. For House Lannister, he said at last. Whatever name it must bear tomorrow. Overhead Drogon roared, an echo that rattled broken tiles. The future roared with him, bright and terrible and free. At Barrowton, Grey Dawn unveiled banners, lion crimson, wolf white, flayed man red on pink. In a timber-beamed long hall, Jaime waited beside Brienne, armored Starks behind them. Doors creaked, Roose Bolton stepped in, Ramsay at heel, flanked by sullied shields. Jaime motioned to scribes ready with ink. But when parchment spread, Ramsay lunged, dagger flashed, aimed for Sansa. Brienne met him mid-stride, keeper ringing. Steel sparred, Ramsay's blade chipped, sparks arced. Stark men drew swords, Lannister guards interposed. Roose shouted for calm as glacial. Ramsay, panting, sneered. No alliance with wolf bitches. Jaime's temper snapped. In 2 strides he closed, golden hand clamping Ramsay's collar. His other drew sword, point touching the bastard's throat. Drop the dagger. Ramsay's grin faded. He dropped it. Roose's voice slithered. Apologies, sir. My son forgets courtesy. Courtesy? Jaime growled. He forgets survival. He threw Ramsay toward Bolton guards. Bind him. Roose weighed futures as if tasting steel chips. Ramsay is heir. Not if heir cuts throats at parley. Blackfish's growl matched dire wolf fury. Sansa stepped forward. If Roose Bolton delivers his son to face northern justice, the pact stands. Her gaze, icy resolve. Roose's lips parted, years of flay rule etched lines deeper. In the hush he nodded. Very well. To his men he ordered, shackle him. Ramsay screamed curses as manacles snapped shut. Brienne exhaled, flexing fingers. Jaime returned sword to scabbard, heart drumming. A single mistake, one spark, and war might have reignited. But the spark was quenched. Ink dried. The north bent, though wounds would ache for generations. Atop Casterly Rock, Tywin read the Raven from Barrowton. He closed his eyes, relief a pang sharp as gout. Then he turned to a pile of messages. Volantis offers coin for trade, Dorne hesitates, Reach feasts, Riverlands rebuild, Iron Fleet broken. Threads converged. He rose, limped to a narrow window. Sunset gilded the sunset sea. For a breath he pictured Joanna smiling beside him. I have done what I must, he whispered to ghosts. May it suffice. Below, in the bustling docks, word of Lion's victory stirred pride. Yet whispers climbed passageways, of faith militants patrolling night streets, of Cersei's rumored monstrous guard, of wildfire caches still hidden. Peace is a blade's edge, Tywin reminded himself. Never sheath vigilance. On the Silverwind, flagship of the Targaryen expedition, Tyrion inspected crates of obsidian dredged from Dragonstone's abandoned mines, gifted by smugglers in Illyrio's pay. Maesters believed obsidian or dragonglass, fatal to others. If Winter's tales proved true, the North would need every shard. Ser Jorah Mormont approached, beard salted by sea spray. Your father hunts me still, no doubt, he said, half-smile. He hunts everyone eventually, Tyrion replied, but you're useful to our cause. I suspect even Tywin admires utility. Jorah grunted. Storm ahead. Secure. Tyrion watched black clouds mass, lightning flicker. Storms break, he said, and after, skies clear. He wondered if he spoke of weather or destiny. In his cabin that night he dreamt. Tywin and Daenerys seated at a long table of red-veined marble. Dragons coiled around pillars. Stark direwolves curled beneath benches. High Sparrow quietly praying. Tyrion stood between, translator of hopes. When he woke, the sea thundered yet the dream lingered. Improbable, luminous. King's Landing thrummed. Grain wagons rolled in from Reach. Peach juice sweetened gutters. Yet tension knotted alleys. One humid evening a brawl erupted outside the street of silk, gold cloaks and sparrows, cudgels, broken teeth. Cersei, alerted, dispatched her new silent knight, Ser Robert Strong, Qyburn called him. The giant parted crowds like reeds. One glare from sapphire islets and fists fell limp. Rumor sprinted faster than ravens, the Queen Regent kept a demon of iron and sorcery. Faithful murmured of abomination, nobles hedged bets. Tywin confronted his daughter privately. This creature invites fear we cannot yet afford. Cersei's chin lifted. Fear keeps knives from my son's back. Tywin's voice hardened. It also sharpens others. Dismiss it from public view. I will not. Cersei smiled too wide. Even you cannot unmake what death already forged. Tywin stared, recognizing his daughter's reflection as his own arrogance gilded darker. Control balanced on a hair's breadth. In the north, Sansa rode through Winterfell's open gates at last, snowmelt puddling under hoof. Ash smell lingered, yet she inhaled like tasting freedom. She dismounted, pressed gloved hand to scorched stone, whispered, home. Beside her, Brienne stood sentinel, behind, banners of houses Mormont, Glover, Hornwood. Jaime remained in Barrow Dun to oversee Bolton departure. 10 flayed men hung upon Winterfell's walls Ramsay's last cruelty. Sansa ordered them cut down and burned without ceremony. Inside the great hall she convened vassals. She spoke steady, Winterfell stands, and with it the north. We choose tomorrow over revenge. Lord Tywin offers grain, justice, and peace. We accept on our terms. The north will guard the realm's flank when true winter marches. She slammed a dirk into the oaken table. If dragons come as friends, they will find wolves at their side. If enemies, at their throats. Cheers answered. Northern pride tempered by pragmatic hunger. Outside, wind howled across moorland, snowflakes danced, the first heralds of a long, hard season. But hearths rekindled, and hope flickered brighter than any flame Ramsay ever kindled. Weeks later, under waxing moon, Daenerys' fleet crossed the narrow sea. Tyrion stood at prow, salty gale whipping his cloak. Ghostly lights flickered along distant cliffs of Dragonstone. Braziers lit by loyalists who'd thrown off Stannis' remnants at word from King's Landing. Here thrones once forged war. Here dragons would reclaim. Drogon soared overhead, black wings eclipsing stars. Behind him regal and Viserion shrieked, scales glinting auric and jade. Crew gasped, some knelt. Tyrion felt awe sing through marrow. His father's coin bought ships, but no gold minted dragons. Only destiny. They anchored in Blackwater Bay at dawn. Mist veiled the city's spires. Bells tolled subdued. On the main deck, Daenerys faced Tyrion. You will go ashore first, she said. Deliver terms. Terms, my queen. She spoke each like forged link. Abolition of debtor prisons. Grain for the poor. Trial for those who butchered at the Red Wedding. And recognition of my claim alongside King Tommen's marriage or decree, I care little which so long as peace binds. Tyrion swallowed. Generous yet formidable. Formidable wins respect. Generous wins hearts. He bowed. Then let us win both. A scarlet longboat ferried Tyrion beneath looming walls. He disembarked at the King's Gate, banners of lion and stag fluttering. Ser Adam Marbrand received him, eyebrow arched. The imp returns with dragons at his back? Tyrion smiled. With hope. Dragons are incidental. Escorted through thronged streets, he witnessed a city changed, soup lines supervised by septons, guild halls flying banners of lion paired with sheaves of wheat, but also sparrows perched on balconies with cudgels, eyes watchful. Beneath the smell of fresh bread he tasted tension. Inside the Tower of the Hand he found Tywin seated at carved desk. Their gazes locked, neither speaking for whole heartbeats. At last Tywin gestured to a chair. You've returned alive, the hand said, voice grayer. And with company. Tyrion's Saturday, Daenerys Targaryen anchors in the bay bearing peace, not conquest. Tywin's fingertips steepled. Her dragons, tamed by her will, perhaps tempered by alliance. Tyrion laid parchment of terms. Read. See if the cost of pride equals the cost of kingdom. Tywin read. Lines deepened on his brow. When he finished, he set scroll aside. Marriage, he murmured. To Tommen, or recognition of her as co-ruler until Tommen comes of age. Tyrion leaned in. Join forces and no realm can oppose us. The north already bends, Dorne leans forward, reach holds. We could end war, father. Truly end it. Tywin's eyes flickered, for a breath Tyrion glimpsed weariness muffled behind iron pride. Cersei will spit poison, then let her swallow some first. Tyrion produced another parchment, evidence of Cersei's clandestine attempts to bribe Braavosi sell sails for a private army. Intercepted by Illyrio's spies. She endangers everything. At that Tywin closed his eyes. Silence pressed thick. Finally he exhaled. Very well. I will receive the queen tomorrow at the Dragon Pit. He opened eyes. And you, Tyrion, you will stand at my right hand. Shock guttered Tyrion's wit. At your hand. An envoy proven, a diplomat seasoned. The realm needs you. Tywin's voice broke a fraction. And I will need you when winter's storms flash." Tyrion swallowed emotion sharp as glass. "Then I stand." Outside, bells began to ring anew, uncertain, tremulous, signaling arrival of strange sails within harbor: three-headed dragon, lion, wolf, rose, sunspear. From Maegor's holdfast Cersei watched, lips bloodless. At her back, Ser Robert Strong loomed silent. In her heart, fires danced the promise of ruin. But across the bay, dragons wheeled in dawn like banners of living flame, and on castle ramparts children stared wide-eyed, forgetting fear for wonder. The Game of Thrones poised upon a cusp, blade or bloom, ash or harmony. And in its fragile balance stood a half-man and an old lion unbowed, a dragon queen fierce, a boy king gentle, wolves reborn, krakens wounded, sparrows restless. The next move belonged to dawn. The pale haze of the following dawn drifted across the red keep like the ghost of a half-remembered siege. From the high balcony of the Tower of the Hand, Tyrion surveyed Blackwater Bay, where 36 Pentoshi and Myrinese hulls lay at anchor like lacquered beetles. Above them, dragons traced lazy spirals, eerie silhouettes that turned morning cloudbanks to glowing parchment. Each wingbeat resonated across the city walls in a thunderous hush that stilled even the criers hawking sweet biscuits at the fish market. Behind Tyrion, the council chamber exhaled the scent of lamp oil, parchment, and a cool damp that seeped up from old dungeons. Tywin stood at the head of the Cyvasse board, pieces untouched, game forgotten in the wake of dragons. Kevin and Pycelle shuffled parchments, Mace Tyrell stared out the window muttering about the ruin of trade winds, Qyburn busied himself binding a thick folio of anatomical sketches, and Lord Varys, summoned back from his careful absence, perched near the hearth in robes the color of midnight feathers. It was to this mismatched audience that Tyrion spoke first. "She will expect you in the Dragonet," he reminded, turning from the balustrade. "No guards save honor retinues. No hidden scorpions. No last-minute wildfire." Tywin's expression remained sculpted granite. "I permit dragons inside my city. I do not permit threats to the crown within bowshot." Tyrion's mouth hooked wryly. "Dragons are not wary of bowshot, father. But they can smell betrayal. Better to show confidence than cowardice." "Confidence," Lord Mace blurted, "is one thing, but those beasts, can we not keep them in chains outside the walls? The stench alone will ruin the Maiden Vault Gardens." Tywin's gaze silenced the Reach Lord. "We are past the point of chains," he said, glancing to Varys. "How many sparrows gather near the September of Baelor?" "Thousands," Varys replied, voice soft as plucked harpstrings. "And thousands more clogging the narrow ways. They believe the dragons herald the Seven's judgment upon the corrupt. Then their judgment will be tempered by reality," Tywin said. "If the Queen of Dragons comes in peace, the realm will accept peace." His eyes found Tyrion. An unspoken challenge gleamed there: "Make this work, or blood will drown every gain we earned." Tyrion nodded once. He understood the stakes, he had set them himself. Mid-morning sun gilded the colonnades of the Dragonet, where weeds sprouted between cracked marble and statues lay toppled, wings shorn by time. It had not hosted its true tenants since the Dance of Dragons, and yet beneath shattered arches the old terror hummed as if waiting for rebirth. Gold cloaks and polished helms formed a wary cordon, but Tywin had kept his word. No siege engines, no archers hidden in rafters. Only a half-ring of banners, lion, stag, rose, sunspear, kraken, dire wolf flanked the oval sands. Daenerys Targaryen entered first, copper-studded sandals silent on the grit. White linen wrapped her shoulders, a cloak of crimson silk embroidered with 3 roaring heads billowed behind. At her side walked Grey Worm in mirror-bright mail, trotting unsullied at his back. Tyrion matched her pace, heart-skittering. He wore a high-collared doublet of black velvet sewn with subtle golden lions, the envoy's compromise between Lannister pride and Targaryen humility. He guided her to the center of the pit. From the far arch, Tywin strode forward with Jaime and Kevin, accompanied by 2 Kingsguard in immaculate white. Tommen, slight in kingly ermine, hurried after. Cersei glided behind like a crimson shadow, Ser Robert Strong lumbering silent in tow. Wind gusted, dust spiraled upward. Drogon swept overhead, immense, and the gathered lords flinched as his shadow fell like eclipse. He landed atop the crumbled dome, claws screeching on scorched rock. Regal and Viserion banked wide and settled on distant parapets, their rumbling calls vibrating through every rib. Daenerys inclined her head to Tywin, but did not bow. "Lord Hand," she said, voice carrying clean and clear, "I accept your welcome." Tywin inclined likewise, measured. "Queen Daenerys, Westeros remembers Targaryen flame. May it know Targaryen grace as well. He gestured to Tommen. My grandson, his grace the king. Tommen stepped forward, cheeks flushed with nerves, and offered a courteous half-bow. Your grace, I thank you for coming in peace. Daenerys studied the boy, noting innocence clouded by latent steel. Peace is forged, young king, as steel is under heat and hammer. She glanced at Tyrion. Your hand's envoy proposes marriage, alliance, and reforms. I would hear the realm accept them from your own lips. Tommen swallowed, then drew breath. I have read the accords. I agree in principle, though details. Cersei's voice sliced the air. The realm will not consign its sovereignty to foreign dragons. Her green eyes burned at Tyrion, nor trust the council of kinslayers. Silence fissured the pit. Tyrion braced for fury, but Daenerys' gaze flickered with cold amusement. Queen Regent, you worry dragons consume sovereignty. Yet sovereignty is a construct of men and dragons. They coexist or perish together. Tywin raised a palm. Enough. His tone brooked no dissent. He faced Daenerys. You will have a seat on the council. My grandson will marry your ward if you still intend one. Children bind houses, Daenerys said. But let them be children first. A betrothal, not a bedding. Tywin nodded. Agreed. Cersei's hands clenched. And if the faith objects? The High Sparrow has already denounced blasphemers. Tywin regarded her, voice flat. The faith stands because I permit it. He turned back to Daenerys. We will enact the debtor prison reforms within a fortnight. Your dragons will remain beyond the city walls except by royal invitation. Except Drogon, Daenerys countered. He answers only to me. He ranges where he pleases. But he will not attack civilians unless provoked. Tywin's jaw ticked. Tyrion stepped between. We shall erect perches atop the old September of Maegor, far from crowded quarters. A symbol of accord. Daenerys smiled faintly. Your dwarf thinks like a statesman. He thinks like a Lannister, Tywin said. The words tasted both proud and bitter. Grey Worm presented a sealed tube. Terms in writing. Signatures of Meereen, Astapor, Yukai taskmasters. Tywin accepted, scanning swiftly. He produced his lion seal and pressed wax. Tommen followed, then Daenerys with a carved onyx stamp shaped like a dragon's eye. Tyrion exhaled. The hinge of history clicked, subtle, momentous. Yet far above, Drogon keened, an eerie note that set pigeons wheeling skyward. Tyrion glimpsed the beast's nostrils flaring. Something troubled him. A low shout arose near the gate. Sparrows flooded the stairways, chanting hymns, brandishing cudgels tipped with iron stars. Gold cloaks blocked them, but numbers swelled. At their front strode the High Sparrow, burlap robes fluttering like penitent wings. We come in the Seven's name, he called, to witness justice. Cersei's lips curved triumphant, yet Tywin caught the glint and cold dread frosted his veins. The High Sparrow pointed a gnarled finger at Daenerys. Abomination. She rides dragons of ruin. She frees slaves yet chains souls to heathen gods. Sparks of unrest crackled through the pit. Unsullied spears dipped, gold cloaks braced. Qyburn's silent giant moved to Cersei's flank. Daenerys' eyes hardened. I freed men and women from whips and crucifixion. And replaced one idol with another, the Sparrow retorted. The realm must bow to the seven, not scaled demons. Tywin stepped forward, voice steel. The crown has negotiated peace, holiness. Withdraw. The gods overrule the crown, Sparrow intoned. We demand the dragons depart. Regal snarled. Tyrion felt tension coil like crossbow string. One wrong word, they would drown in blood before midday. Tommen's voice, thin but ringing, broke in. Grand Septon, the gods command mercy, do they not? All eyes shifted to the boy king. Tommen straightened shoulders. They command justice and charity. You preach both. So show them. Spare the realm strife. The Sparrow studied Tommen, the boy he'd anointed. Conflict flickered behind rheumy eyes. Your grace, I serve the gods, and through them you. If you insist, Cersei hissed. He is manipulated. Tyrion interjected. No, he is king. Thunder rolled overhead as Drogon spread wings, dust swirling around talons. The Sparrow swallowed. Very well, we withdraw, but faith watches. He turned, leading sparrows back through arches. Murmurs fanned out across columns like the rustle of dead leaves. Tyrion's pulse slowed. Crisis survived, barely. Daenerys bowed to Tommen, genuine respect. You have courage, young king. Tommen flushed. Courage is easier when many people will die if you fail. Jaime laughed softly. Even Tywin's mouth twitched. Cersei glared at Tyrion, venomous, but said nothing. Behind her, Sir Robert Strong remained statuesque. Signatures dried. The alliance, improbable and fragile, breathed first life between cracked stones. That evening the small council dined in the Queen's ballroom, its stained glass windows glowing ruby and sapphire as the sun drowned behind the hills. Platters of honey-roasted quail, minted peas, and blackberry tarts lined the tables, though few ate with real appetite. Tywin presided at the long mahogany, Daenerys at his right, Tyrion on her far side. Cersei sat opposite Tyrion, stiff as cold iron. Varys floated where conversation lulled, filling cups, dousing sparks before they flared. Lord Kevin, Olenna Tyrell, and Prince Doran's envoy, Lady Nym Martell, completed the uneasy circle. Tywin cleared his throat. We must publish the Edict of Union at dawn. It must bear every sigil present, including the wolf. Lady Sansa is at Winterfell. Send a raven with blank line for her mark. Olenna tapped a claw at the table. And my granddaughter? Marjorie will continue as queen-to-be, Tywin responded. The betrothal between Tommen and Princess Myrcella's line remains, with Daenerys' endorsement easing Dornish ire. Lady Nym's eyebrow arched. Dorne's ire requires more than endorsement. Myrcella lost an ear and innocence to treachery. Her voice dripped venom at Cersei. Cersei's wine sloshed. If Dorne blames us for Sand's snake daggers, perhaps Dorne should leash them. Nym's lips curved. Perhaps lions should guard their cubs. Before sparks leapt, Daenerys spoke. Westeros's wounds run deep. We may stitch them, or pick scabs until rot sets. Which shall it be? Olenna sipped. I choose stitching. Rot has no fragrance suited to roses. Nym smirked, but leaned back. Tywin nodded once to Daenerys. Tyrion caught Cersei's glare, like wildfire stored in crystal flasks. He offered a brief salute of his goblet. She looked away, jaw tight. Through tall windows the dragons circled the city's rim, wings glowing ember red in sunset. Beneath them, lanterns winked along streets where small folk gaped and prayed in equal measure. Beyond the city walls, in the moldering alleys of Flea Bottom, a hooded figure slipped among beggars, distributing small clay tokens carved with the seven-pointed star. Tonight, he whispered, the Mother shields us. Gather at the Great September, bring torches. In hidden corners, sparrow leaders sharpened rust-flecked blades. Atop Rhaenys' hill, the Great September of Baelor loomed, pillars gleaming white in moonrise. Inside, candles cast shifting halos around statues. The High Sparrow knelt at the stranger's feet. We yielded, he murmured, but faith tests by fire. He pressed forehead to cold marble. If the Dragon Queen abides the gods, all may yet redeem. If she defies them, let the gods judge with flame. His acolytes echoed prayers. Outside, night swelled like a storm cloud pregnant with thunder. Across the narrow sea at Volantis, Euron Greyjoy limped upon the charred deck of silence. The assault on Lannisport had cost him half his fleet, yet ambition burned hotter. He studied a nerve-corded horn wrapped in Valyrian glyphs. Two dusky priests muttered incantations around it. Euron's smile split beneath salt-stiff beard. Let lions think the kraken drowned, he growled. I'll carve a path through storm and ice to seize the true prize, a dragon to ride. His surviving captains murmured uncertain assent. Smoke curled from the horn's mouth, a thrall collapsed lifeless after a single note. Euron laughed, wild, satisfied. Soon, he promised. Soon I blow again and the world will drown in salt and fire. Winterfell's great hall hummed as carpenters hammered new rafters and stonemasons fitted pine tar torches. Sansa strode beneath banners restored, Dire Wolf rampant, Mormont bare, Glover Silverfist. Maester Wolken read Tywin's Raven aloud, edicts of peace, requests for her mark at dawn. Candlelight glittered on her copper hair. The North remembers, Lord Manderley rumbled from the dais. Lannister promises once drowned us in red. Sansa answered, voice crystal over oak beams, and vengeance starved us in snow. If we reject peace, we condemn our folk to famine. We sign and hold them to account. Lady Lyanna Mormont, fierce eyes above too big armor, nodded. We sign, but watch the lions. Sansa dipped quill, signed Sansa Stark, Lady of Winterfell. Wax hardened beneath dire wolf seal. Send it by fastest raven. She turned to the gathering. Prepare grain wagons south. The war for bread begins now. Brienne watched with quiet pride. In Sansa she saw a queen shaped by horror yet commanding hope. Outside, the first true snow of winter began to fall. In the Dornish desert, Arianne Martell paced the torchlit courtyard of Sunspear's Tower of the Sun, sand silk robes billowing. Obsidian sky glimmered with strange falling stars, some said dragon omens. Her brother Quentyn, newly returned in failure from Meereen, lingered near a brazier, face lined by grief for comrades lost in dragon flame. Father counsels patience, Quentyn said. Yet House Lannister offers olive branches. Will we reach for peace? Arianne touched his arm. We avenge Elia still, but vengeance may wear velvet. If Lannisters yield power to dragons, Dorne may ride those wings too. Quentyn's eyes darkened. Memories of Regal's scorching breath haunted him. Wings can sear as readily as lift. I will cage them with marriage. She smiled sly, perhaps to the dwarf who wields silvered tongue, or to the boy king. She turned to the horizon where heat lightning flickered. Either way, Dorne shall rise. Night settled over King's Landing, torches guttered atop battlements. Tyrion wandered the gardens of the Maiden Vault. Moonlight silvered fountains cracked by time. He felt weightless and laden at once, every choice birthing consequences beyond foresight. He paused at a balustrade overlooking the Blackwater. Lanterns bobbed on moored galleys, reflections jittering. Footsteps approached. Jaime emerged, white cloak trading moonbeams for shadows. You survived Cersei's glare, he said. I survived many miracles. Tyrion leaned on stone, including father calling me son without spitting. Jaime's golden hand tapped rail. He trusts you now. A wistful chuckle. I barely recognize him. Age sands edges, Tyrion mused. Perhaps losing the chance to kill him did more good than the attempt would have. Perhaps. Jaime's smile faded. War may end, brother, but history still weighs. The North may forgive, never forget. A dragon queen may shake hands, but she will never kneel. Nor should she, Tyrion replied. Only learn to dance with wolves and lions. They shared silence, warm despite crisp night. Somewhere below, a woman's laughter mingled with distant harp. The city breathed. Jaime spoke again, softer. Brienne rides north soon. I think I may follow. Tyrion studied him. To fulfill your oath to Catelyn Stark. To find honor, Jaime whispered. Tyrion's eyes misted. Then ride. Honor rarely seeks us, we must chase it. They clasped forearms, brother to brother. Stars wheeled overhead, heedless. Across town, Cersei paced her privy chamber, silk slippers scuffing carpets woven with golden lions. Candle flames jittered as if fearing her wrath. Qyburn observed from the threshold, pillbug eyes wide. He weakens, she hissed, meaning Tywin. Surrenders the realm to dragon whores and that stunted traitor. Qyburn inclined his head. Power often mutates when survival demands. Yet there are remedies. Cersei halted. Speak plainly, Maester. He closed the door, voice thread-like. The faith will strike once provoked. The dragons provoke. A riot properly timed will pit sparrows against unsullied. Chaos will swallow all. In chaos your lion may perish. Cersei's pulse quickened. And my son, safeguarded by Ser Robert Strong within the Red Keep. After smoke clears, you present yourself savior. Her tongue traced teeth. Father once told me I was born to rule. He forgets. I will remind him. But the dwarf Qyburn warned. He wields dragon counsel. Cersei's eyes hardened to emerald glass. Then we break his counsel. How fares your little birds? Clipping wings as we speak. He smiled thinly. When the dragon queen visits the September tomorrow for blessing, sparrows will swarm. A thrill of cruel anticipation rippled through Cersei. She imagined Daenerys dragged from steps, golden hair hacked. The realm freed a foreign flame. Ensure it. Qyburn bowed, cloak whispering. Behind them the silent night breathed, slow, hollow. Dawn split the sky rose gold as bells summoned worshippers. Daenerys, on Tyrion's counsel, agreed to attend a short ceremony at the Great September to ease sparrow unrest. Tyrion accompanied, wearing half-lion sigil, half-three-headed dragon. Grey Worm led a lean honor guard of Unsullied. Tommen also attended with a small Kingsguard escort against Tywin's quiet protest. Cersei remained, citing ailment. Crowds parted on the Street of the Sisters. Sparrows chanted hymns yet retreated at Unsullied stairs. Statues of the Seven glowed in angled light as the procession mounted broad steps ascending to the sept's carved doors. Inside, incense wove in pale ribbons. The High Sparrow met them in Nave's center. His face unreadable. Tommen offered shy greeting, the Sparrow nodded. Daenerys dipped head respectfully. I honor your gods as I honor all free believers. He gestured to marble dais. We gather to bless unity. He raised arms, acolytes echoed. Tyrion's ears pricked, footfalls beyond the doors rapid, harsh. He spun. Sparrows surged up steps outside, torches and cudgels raised. Eight watchers gave no alarm, coerced or slain. The High Sparrow lowered arms slowly, eyes dimming. "I did not order this," he murmured. Grey Worm barked command, unsullied formed shield wall across threshold. Tommen paled. Daenerys clenched jaw. From the crowd a cloaked figure hurled clay orb. It shattered on unsullied shields, green wildfire splashed, igniting with shriek. Flame-licked marble, screams rose. Dragons outside roared in answer. Drogon lunged from his perch, wings hammering air. Stones reverberated. Tyrion seized Tommen, dragging him behind a pillar. "Stay down." Unsullied swept Daenerys to altar stairs. Grey Worm parried a dervish of clubs. Faith militant poured into nave. Then a colossal shape burst through stained glass window. Ser Robert Strong, visor blinking red reflection of wildfire. He waded into sparrows, flail-crushing skulls. Chaos. Tywin, alerted by bells tolling discord, raced from the Red Keep with Lannister guards. Overhead, Regal perched upon Sept's lantern tower, belching orange jets that melted lead. Inside, Tyrion saw wildfire pools creeping toward columns. If they reached oil-soaked tapestries, the sept would become a pyre. He darted between grappling bodies, found a smoking brazier. Using a serving cloth, he smothered flame nearest. Across the aisle, Daenerys' eyes blazed, not in fear but fury. She mounted dais, voice slicing, "Enough." Her shout loosed a cord within Drogon. The dragon plunged through the shattered window. Sparrows scattered, shrieking. Drogon landed before the altar, wings beating hurricane gusts. Embers flared but were blown aside. The beast's burning gaze cowed even Ser Robert Strong, who braced but did not advance. Daenerys strode to Drogon's side, placing palm upon obsidian scales. "Lay down arms," she commanded. "The gods save those who choose peace." Her words, amplified by cavernous nave, reverberated. The High Sparrow, seeing devastation, raised trembling hands. "Spare them," he cried. "Spare them, Mother of Dragons." Sparrows dropped cudgels. Unsullied arrested surviving zealots. Tyrion exhaled ragged relief. Smoke churned, sunlight pierced broken rose window. Tommen emerged, tear-streaked, and approached Daenerys. The boy knelt. "Thank you," he whispered. Daenerys inclined head. Then she turned to Tyrion. "Who lit wildfire?" Tyrion's mind flashed to Qyburn. His eyes sought Cersei, absent. He grimaced. "A question we must answer soon." Within Maegor's holdfast, Cersei watched distant smoke curl behind towers as though dragons breathed upon marble. She smiled. Yet her satisfaction soured when a messenger, eyes wide, reported the queen and king unscathed, sparrows subdued. Cersei's nails cut her palm. "How?" she whispered. Tywin strode in, cloak dusted, his fury ice. "You nearly burned the king alive." Cersei stiffened. "I did nothing." He produced a shard of clay bearing her sigil, found on a dead zealot. "Your scheme's end. You are relieved of regency." Shock drained her face. Then rage. "I am your blood. You are a threat," he said. "Until proven otherwise, you remain confined to chambers guarded by Robert Strong." He turned away, voice heavy. "Do not make me choose between daughter and kingdom." She trembled, eyes glistening. But fear yielded to seething resolve. As Tywin departed, she whispered, "I will remember." Soot-caked afternoon hung heavy. Carpenters erected scaffolds around the sept, unsullied stacked confiscated weapons. The High Sparrow, bruised and shaken, met with Daenerys and Tommen in the charred sanctuary. "I failed the gods," he confessed. Fanatics twisted faith. Daenerys studied him. "Stand with us. Preach peace. Or the mother's mercy will be overshadowed by the father's wrath." He nodded. "I shall." He turned to Tommen. "Your grace. The gods speak through children of kind heart." Tommen managed a wan smile. Outside, crowds gathered. Some cheering dragons for quelling riot, others sobbing at holy desecration. Tyrion composed proclamations declaring the attack an act of rogue zealots. They would hang guilt on those dead and those fled, sparing the faith hierarchy to preserve stability. Grey Worm patrolled ramparts. "Unsullied will now stand watch at sept," he informed Tyrion. "Not forever," Tyrion said. "Faith must guard itself." Grey Worm's eyes softened. "Faith of Unsullied is duty to queen." Tyrion clapped his shoulder. "And duty to realm." That night, council reconvened. Tywin's voice carried fatigue. "We survived. Dragons proved deterrence. But wildfire nearly ended everything." Daenerys' gaze burned. "Find the source." Tyrion spoke. Ser Qyburn maintains secret laboratories. He engineered Ser Robert Strong. We must search his warrens. Cersei, escorted by Ser Robert Strong, entered unannounced. Guards moved, but Tywin gestured still. She faced the room, a mask of calm. Your witch hunt claims innocence. I will not endure humiliation. Daenerys stood. Innocence is proven by truth. Surrender Qyburn for questioning. Cersei's nostrils flared. Over my corpse. Tyrion sighed. Please, sister. Enough blood. She spun, pointing. You who murdered Joffrey with whispers, you who shamed our family, now you conspire with dragons. Tywin rose. Cersei. Stop. Cersei's chest heaved. Tears carved tracks down Rouge. I did everything for our house. And you cast me aside. Her voice cracked. You choose the imp and the outsider over your own flesh. Tywin's stare softened, a father, despite rage. I choose Westeros. She pressed hand to heart. Then Westeros will bury you. She pivoted, stormed out, silent night in tow. The council exchanged grim looks. Tyrion murmured, she'll not yield. Varys sighed. Poison in every chalice. Tywin pinned. Ched eyes. We must contain wildfire caches before she finds them. Daenerys placed palm on the table. I will send Regal to scour tunnels. Stone melts under dragon flame. Tywin nodded. Do so quietly. In the crypts beneath the Red Keep, Qyburn packed vials into leather satchel, heart drumming. Footsteps clanged on stairs, unsullied search party. He whispered prayers to forgotten gods, then slid through secret passage carved ages past. He emerged into black cell labyrinths, where torch sconces flickered. Past rows of chained skeletons he hurried, until an immense shadow blocked path. Ser Robert Strong. Qyburn exhaled relief. We must flee. The hand orders my arrest. The giant cocked helm silent. Qyburn stepped closer. We head to the Queen. Robert Strong remained still. A hiss. I command you. The giant raised flail and swung. Qyburn's scream cut short as iron shattered ribcage. He fell, satchel rolling, glass shattering. Green vapors hissed. Robert Strong turned, lumbered away, leaving his maker's body in emerald mist. In the tunnels above, rat squeals faded into silence. Outside city walls, Regal prowled abandoned tunnels, molten breath cauterizing blackened seams containing hidden wildfire. Stone steamed, sulfur vented. Workers followed, scooping fused residue into lead casings for disposal at sea. The operation stretched for nights. Each dawn found the city safer, each dusk found Cersei's options narrowing. Rumors spread. The wildfire that destroyed the sept's interior had been part of much larger caches now neutralized. Small folk exchanged tales of dragon guardians. The Queen of Dragons became not harbinger of doom but protector against green hellfire. Winter's Bite crept south. At Moat Cailin, ravens from Eastwatch reported dead men walking again in thinning numbers, but stronger, more organized. Castle Black answered. The Night's Watch sought dragonglass shipments. Tyrion orchestrated shipments from Dragonstone's mines, loading crates onto northern galleys. Glover squires fitted arrowheads, Mormont smiths forged daggers. Sansa pledged 200 archers to watch his cause. Jaime, now at Winterfell, drilled recruits under Brienne's oversight. Old hatreds thawed in shared fear. In King's Landing, Daenerys presided over court in the throne room beside Tommen, who sat but did not yet rule. She dispensed coin to orphanages, freed debtors, and invited guildmasters to restructure shipping tariffs. Tywin monitored finances, surprised by Dragon Queen's knack for arithmetic. A good queen counts coppers, she said, smiling. He admitted, grudging, a good king rarely learns until forced. Tyrion oversaw the new Council of Reconciliation, Marjorie Tyrell to represent the Reach, Lady Nym Martell for Dorne, Davos Seaworth representing the narrow sea trade, sent by Stannis' supportive letter from the Wall, and Arya Stark returned from Braavos in hooded secrecy as observer for the North. Few recognized her. Tyrion did, eyes widening but said nothing. She whispered, not yet, and he honored hush. Together they drafted the Charter of 7 Kingdoms, each region's right to internal governance, tax relief during winter, provisions for common-born representation. It would require signatures of thrice 70 lords, a monumental path, yet its very proposal stirred hope where once suspicion nested. Cersei's captivity chafed. Forbidden from council, she paced ramparts, planning. Qyburn's failure stung, his corpse found near tunnels. She still commanded Robert Strong and loyal maids, but eyes watched her everywhere. She held a single card, Micella, recovering in Dorne, Letters from Arianne hinted at betrothal to Tommen's line in exchange for Dornish autonomy. Cersei plotted to fetch her daughter by stealth to raise Dornish levies loyal to a mother's cause. Yet each Raven flight risked interception. She needed allies within the court. Near midnight, she slipped into the rookery with false sigil wax and bribed Maester's apprentice. But Varys, Spider's alert, caught scent of scheme. He confronted her on Spiral Stair. She threatened him with dagger only to meet Robert Strong's mailed chest blocking way. She retreated to chambers, saliva bitter. Varys reported to Tywin. The Hand considered, then summoned Cersei at dawn. "You may journey to Dorne," he said. Surprise flickered in her eyes. He continued, but with escort of Tyrell knights and Martell hostages. "No private armies. You will return with Myrcella for her betrothal oath." Cersei sensed cage disguised as privilege. Yet refusal risked deeper confinement. She agreed, lips a bloodless line. Robert Strong would accompany her. Tywin acquiesced, preferring giant far from city. Within the fortnight, Cersei rode south under banners of peace, resentment smoldering like banked embers. On Dragonstone's windy heights, Tyrion and Daenerys watched coffers of dragonglass loaded into holds bound for Eastwatch. Black basalt cliffs descended to surf foaming white. Tyrion offered a cup of hot lemon. "Winter closes," Daenerys said, cloak snapping. "When ice marches, dragons must answer." "They will," Tyrion assured. "But dragons cannot fight hunger. The realm needs food." "Ships from the Summer Isles bring maize," she said. "Tyrell stores hold barley. Stark granaries offer oats. We will ration." Tyrion nodded. "And maybe, just maybe, Westeros will forget its feuds long enough to survive frost and dead things." She studied him. "You believe in this union?" He shrugged. "Perhaps I'm a fool." "Fools build Valyria," she said. "Fools sometimes birth miracles." A gust swept hair across his scarred face. He sipped lemon, smiling. For the first time since the Blackwater, he felt the fragile thread of purpose unfrayed. But far north, beyond even last hearth, wind roared over a vast white plain broken by shadows of antler-like trees. At its center strode the Night King, blue gaze reflecting starlight. Around him ranks of dead stood silent, Karstark and Wildling, Crow and Giant. He lifted frost-rimmed hand, and from the ice beneath rose three shapes, skeletal, winged, fused with dark rime. Dead wyverns exhumed from ancient burial mounds. The Night King regarded them impassively. Where the living forged alliance of dragon and lion, the dead awakened their own terrors. As one, the wyverns unfurled tattered membranes and screeched, a sound that shook stone and shivered stars. Winter marched, indifferent to treaties, hungry for the warmth of the world's last fragile peace. Snow coated the roofs of White Harbor, where Davos Seaworth oversaw loading of fresh-carved dragonglass spearheads onto a cog. A raven flapped down, scroll-bound in silver ribbons, a message from Tyrion. Final draft of the Charter for 7 Kingdoms ready for signature ceremony at midsummer, to be held in Winterfell's Godwood under Weirwood canopy. Davos smiled. "Midsummer," he said to the gulls. "Let's hope the gods grant one." He sealed crates, prayed to the mother for steady seas. Somewhere across water, Ironborn horns echoed faint, Euron's survivors raiding coastlines, hungry. Davos resolved to inform council. War's embers still glowed, watchfulness must not sleep. In Pentos, Illyrio Mopatus reclined on cushioned divan, stroking belly. A nervous page delivered scroll, union signed, dragons ruling with lions. Illyrio snorted. Dragons and lions dine together only while meat lasts. He penned reply to very underlings, instructing them to stockpile grain, hire sell sails, and watch for fractures. Opportunity smelled sweetest at edge of peace. Crows wheeled over the ruins of Harrenhal. Beneath cracked spires, Arya Stark met with Gendry Waters, now Smith Lord of Storm's End by Queen's decree. They sparred with blunted sticks, laughter echoing. Yet news reached them, White Walkers stir. Arya's face hardened. She donned leathers, strapped needle. Time to fight for real. Gendry kissed her brow. Storm's End forges swords. Winterfell wields them. I go north with you. Together they rode through fog-laden woods, banners of stag and wolf entwined. Old ghosts watched from shattered ramparts, whispering that new heroes walked paths once trod by legends. Midsummer day dawned cool and bright over Winterfell's Godwood, red leaves rustling like distant applause. Lords gathered beneath the heart tree, Tywin in sable and gold, Daenerys in flowing silver, Sansa in wolf-grey, Olenna decked in emerald, Dor and Martell borne on cushioned litter, even Balon Greyjoy's niece Asha representing the Isles. Tommen stood before altar carved from weirwood roots, quill poised. The Charter of 7 Kingdoms, Maester Samwell Tarly read aloud, voice trembling but proud. May it bind us in purpose, preserve us in winter, and shield us from death beyond memory. One by one, lords and ladies signed. Ravens flitted overhead. Regal perched on Winterfell's broken tower, warming stones with gentle fire. Children giggled. When last signature dried, Balan's reluctant scrawl, a cheers erupted. Horns blew. The charter, sealed in glass, was raised. Tyrion watched tears glitter in eyes of folk who had lost too much. Beside him, Jaime clapped Brienne's shoulder, Arya winked from crowd, Davos grinned, missing fingers splayed in applause. Tywin exhaled a breath years held. He turned to Daenerys. We stand together. We fly together, she answered. Above, cloud shadows drifted like passing doubts. Yet on the horizon, a chill wind sent ravens wheeling southward earlier than nature's call. Tyrion noticed, heart tightening. Peace had bloomed. But winter's teeth remained sharp, and beyond ice walls dead wings stirred. He lifted cup of northern mead. To tomorrow, he toasted. The assembled lifted cups, voices melding, tomorrow. And in distant, silent north, tomorrow's shadow smiled.